I stood by. I stood by, and the best that I could muster up was just a couple of squishy tears. I simply watched, numb with shock, and did not stop the bulldozer's gouging. I did not raise a finger as we eviscerated the very habitat that kept us all alive. I sat in silence, reading of the disappearance of one species after another. I barely noticed our chances for survival as they disappeared in my rearview mirror. I did not press them to build things meant to last, or which might even be repaired. I just let them go on dehumanizing animals into identical factory protein units. I bred in a tacit acceptance of our witless and self-destructive overpopulation. I never even questioned that foolish, wasteful, and expensive necessity known as war. I let them preach greedy, unsustainable profit at the expense of all our futures. I watched as they spent more than they had on destructive toys that they quickly cast aside. I stood by as they made our important decisions in talks with their very own personal saviors. I deflected the many unrelated facts which pointed towards the need for real change. I observed from a distance as smugly smirking politicos confidently called the shots. I stood by and let simple monomaniacal control freaks press their warped personal agendas. I turned away from mounting evidence that we brought on our own slide into a dark abyss. I sat grimly on their sidelines as they played their short-sighted, selfish game. I stood by doing nothing to stop myself from being part of all that I condemned. I let them twist my angry silence into an approval of their boundless greed as our guiding light. I avoided conflict and let them carry out the wanton destruction they anointed as our progress. I simply kibitzed while they deconstructed this living earth and all its systems. I did not lift a finger as the lilies of the field were replaced by barren, hot, black asphalt. I looked right past the poverty, suffering, and illness as I hurried on by to work every day. I stood by as it got hotter, drier, and dirtier, convinced that there was really nothing I could do. I only passively ignored their mindless but expensive, mind-dumbing media spectacles. I foolishly tended just to my own implanted needs, thinking so would things work out all right. I stood by with a blank look as a series of precious wonders disappeared forever. I did not get up and shout, much less so much as raise a hand in mild disagreement. I never even once protested the ecological holocaust of our convenience-driven advances. I stood by in silence as the teeming masses wasted or polluted all of our basic resources. I did not clean up the roadsides, beaches, rivers, lakes, and forests that we fouled. I never mentioned how I despised their all-consuming pursuit of consumer goods. I stood by with hands free, but not helping those who tried honestly to do better. I merely watched in amazement as we grew fatter and dumber, sicker and lazier. I did not speak out nearly enough to counter their glib lies and foolish promises. I leaned my fat belly on my shovel while the potholes grew and multiplied all around me.